A Mexican national in California is now facing federal charges after she allegedly tried to fake her own kidnapping and blame it on ICE. The DOJ says Yuriana Calderon lied about being taken to the border at gunpoint by federal agents and that she staged these fake photos trying to make it look like she was in federal custody. But the DOJ says that the whole thing was an elaborate hoax to solicit donations. Officials pointed out that she would have had to remove her necklace in an official booking photo, and surveillance footage shows Calderon walking by herself to a nearby van after she was, quote, kidnapped by ICE. Now, the prosecutor handling the case thinks Calderon was motivated by more than just money. Watch.
There was apparent financial motive, and I think there was another motive here. They want to discredit, dehumanize our federal agents. This is part of the narrative to encourage people to stand up to our agents and to assault them.
And we've seen dangerous anti-ICE rhetoric lead to actual violence. Last week, protesters hurled large rocks at officials during a raid in California. And multiple agents were hospitalized in just the past few weeks, including one who was hit by one of those rocks and another who was dragged on the side of a van by a fleeing suspect. Trace, you talked about this earlier when we opened the show about this climate, and right. Hoaxes like this certainly do not help.
Listen, it all leads back to our top story, which is exactly what you said. I don't care about the fake pictures. What you care about is the fact that everybody said, oh, yeah, kidnapped. Absolutely kidnapped. This woman, she looks like a kidnapped victim, right? Nobody's questioning it. Nobody's saying, that's odd. It's really odd. Are they saying? So everybody automatically buys this narrative that ICE agents are bad. They're bad. They're going in. The governor of California is saying, oh, they're going through summer camps and they're scaring all the kids. And you have the mayor of Los Angeles day in and day out saying they're wearing masks. They're scaring people. They're going in abducting people. They're kidnapping people off the street. And when this woman makes this whole thing up, everybody just nods their head like, boy, that is so sad for that woman, just kidnapped by ICE. It's crazy that we are buying these narratives at face value without anybody saying, hold on. Just like the sheriff thing. People are saying, initially they're like, hey, listen, it's an accident. It's an accident. Don't do anything because it's an accident. Because you know social media is going to explode with, there they go, attacking ICE agents again, right?
Yeah. And depending on the state, Kennedy, these types of crimes are classified essentially as a crime against the public. That it's considered so injurious to public morale and to the authenticity of these reports because of that, because it is so dangerous to put forth a false narrative either against a fellow citizen or here against ICE, especially in this really incendiary climate.
Yeah, and depending what she's charged with, she could spend some real time behind bars. And it's like I look at this woman and she didn't act alone. This was either a system that they were going to enact in different parts of the country with different people, hoping to kickstart these GoFundMe campaigns, because to Trace's point, yeah, they're not going to vet these stories. There are a lot of news outlets that will run with them. And, you know, what happens when you broadcast things like that? People are going to give more and more money. So it's like, who put her up to this? Who was going to profit from this? And it's kind of scary. I'm glad they found her. I'm glad they tracked her down. They looked at her phone and they realized the calls she was making were from her phone. She just masked her number to make it look anonymous, like she was calling from someone else's burner phone.
You know, Marie, the thing, too, is that not only does this render vulnerable ICE agents and that it adds to the fomentation of this climate, but the real injuries and the real vulnerability to many of these illegal immigrants are working with the cartels and coming over here. So this helps no one to further a false narrative that ICE has kidnapped this woman.
Well, and the reason I am furious about this and think that this woman should be prosecuted and held to account is because I think there are a lot of things ICE is doing that should be criticized. We now know there were dozens of prisoners on these flights to El Salvador. We don't know their names. They're unaccounted for. We don't know where they came from. We don't know if they had court orders to deport them. It's not just ICE, rounding up the worst of the worst. We know that from their own data. They are arresting grandmothers and young children and other people who are here illegally, but who are not committing crimes, have not committed a crime. So I think ICE should come under scrutiny right now, and I do think they should show themselves. I do think they should identify themselves. I don't think we are a country where you can arrest people and not identify yourself. When people do this kind of thing, they give the other side the opportunity to say, look, everyone's lying. ICE isn't doing anything wrong. it's all a hoax. And it's not all a hoax. We know it's not. But she hurts that cause, and she should be held to account for that.
And the children are obviously attached to their parents that have records and grandmother. I mean, I cheered with a grandmother on Raiders. It doesn't mean, but the whole point is that Marie's point is accurate, which is it muddies the waters so that all facts are called into question.
And that's not right. They're not arresting the grandmothers and arresting the grandkids. They're detaining people who are ensnared, in these investigations and these operations, who were people that were with the other people who had criminal records.
Trace,
They were going after, and they got in there, and most of them,
that's not true.
Most of them, if you're in the country illegally and you take them up, if you're ensnared in one of those things, you're going as well.
But the 75-year-old grandmother is not a hardened criminal.
They are not targeting a 75-year-old grandmother. They're not targeting children.
True.
They are not targeting 75-year-old grandmother.
That's not true. I can give you examples.
They are not targeting, ICE agents are not going out in operations targeting a 75-year-old grandmother. The people who are taken in, who are not the worst of the worst, happen to be ensnared in operations that are targeting others.
That's not always true.
There is no plan.
The targeting is at ICE agents, Trace, and that is something that you brought up a few moments ago. And I had Borders Czar Tom Homan on with me on Fox Business this morning, and we talked about, he says, look, I've got 9 cameras in one house, 11 cameras in another. I'm a target. I know I'm a target. He's walking around with multiple security agents. He goes, I don't care about myself. I care about my agents. He goes, these are men and women that are out there trying to enforce the law. They have a legal right to arrest these illegal aliens, and if they need to be deported, they're deported. And what he said in particular, he went back after Congress this morning, and he said the rhetoric has got to stop, because what we're now seeing is the violence, whether you've seen it in Los Angeles or whether it's happened in Texas, and it has, and they're being doxxed. I disagree. I think that their identities, for the safety of themselves and their families, need to. Matt Finn talked to an agent, by the way. They had to cover his face because he's got 3 children at home, and his identity and his home address is online for everyone to see. So you can point fingers in both directions, but the violence is definitely hitting those
Can I just say Barack Obama deported 430,000 people in 2013. 430,000, everybody was deported. Donald Trump so far has deported 212,000. If he's going to hit Obama's mark in 2013, he's got to get ICE on steroids right now, because he's not going to hit it. Nobody said a word about Obama except, oh, he's deportation, big joke on the left. Nobody said a word. He was deporting everybody, not just the worst of the worst, in 2013. And now Trump's numbers are half that, and the whole world is freaking out.
Yeah, Obama was deporter in chief.
Hey everyone, I'm Emily Campagno. Catch me and my co-hosts Harris Faulkner and Kaylee McEnany on Outnumbered every weekday at 12 p.m. Eastern, or set your DVR. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page for daily highlights.